changing, by the way. I don't know if you've noticed that.
And then should I start really quick?
Yeah, you know what? Are you plugged in, Laura?
Yeah. Or no, I'm not plugged in.
Do you mind moving up like right here so I can capture your voice too?
Oh, yeah.
It's a very high-tech way that we operate here. I can't ask Nick if he can hear you, but because he's gone.
All right. So I kind of took your idea about the apples and I kind of laughed into it.
Okay.
So I came up with the 7, I guess, categories to use. And I did color, flavor, origin, season, uses, availability, and recipes. But I was kind of thinking that recipes and uses were similar, but I don't think they are anymore because, well, I was reading a little bit about what you put on the website or the project, and does one, like, can a category be something that like the users contribute to? Like, could they like post their own recipes or something? I don't know if I read that wrong.
Right. It could be, the problem with recipes is that it is, well, I think that there's too much, I'm not seeing a big distinction between uses and recipes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I know.
But you could do reviews.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Like reviews could be, because that's tagged to the apple itself. Like 9 out of, you have 4,000 reviews and the average is an 8.6 for this apple type.
Mm-hmm.
So it refers to the apple. Uses seems to make sense to me because they're like tags and categories that they could be in, like apple pie, apple, and only certain apples would be suggested for certain specific uses. Recipes, it could be. It doesn't. To me, it's just not feeling like it's a descriptor of the object itself.
Right.
So I think it might get a little bit tricky. I mean, I can see how you can think, well, obviously, if somebody's interested in apples, then they're going to want to connect to recipes too. But I feel like that's like kind of, for the purpose of this assignment, it's not really a category. Now, if I was really making this as an app, the Apple app, I would probably integrate that, but I think I would probably go through uses and it's like, oh, these are good for apple pies. I want to connect to all the apple pie recipes. And then it would go from there.
You could have something linking to recipes if it's for like applesauce or apple pies.
Right.
Okay, yeah, that's what I thought too, because I was thinking what you just said, how you could probably just connect those two a little bit more easier. So then I could do something like reviews or ratings of particular apples and stuff like that.
I want to make sure Pamela can hear you.
I can hear you.
But,
Okay, good.
That's all I have. So I didn't know if that was like my category there.
I like it. I think it's great.
Okay, cool.
I think it's cool. I mean, think about the way that you could interact with color.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a range of hex codes. Like, I don't know, maybe it's a slider of a color spectrum and somehow you can kind of like set a set of colors, and based on those set of colors, you get results in terms of the apple.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
Or maybe you can take a picture of an apple and somehow you sample the color, or I don't know, somehow it detects what kind of variety it is based on color. But I think there could be some interesting ways you can interact with color.
Okay. That's all I have for now.
That's fine. How many apple varieties are there?
There's a lot. I know at like Eckert's we probably have 15 or something, but we also get them like shipped from Japan and stuff, like stuff I've never heard of. But there's a lot, yeah. There's a lot.
Okay.
That's what I didn't know.
Farmers market in Soulard, she's
Yeah. Yeah, and then like I didn't know if I could do because I hate to do another project like based on Eckerd's, like on their apple. So I guess this would be just more like in general.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I think you want to work with a bigger a bigger data set,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
you know, rather than just 15. Otherwise, it doesn't seem really, you don't need all of these interactive devices to be able to navigate the collection because it's just not much of a collection,
Right. True.
you know?
Mhm.
So, yeah, think about it. I mean, if there are over 100 varieties of apples,
Mhm.
which I assume there are, I think there are a lot. I don't know.
Yeah.
But then this could be interesting.
Okay.
So keep on going. So now think about your user scenarios in the same way. Okay, let's say that I'm thinking of an apple that has like kind of a reddish, like a really dark red color.
Mm-hmm.
What is it? I can't think of it.
Red delicious.
No, I don't know.
Oh.
Imagine. I know you're an expert and you know this content, but think about how a user may interact, you know, what their needs might be,
Yeah, questions and stuff.
or like what's available now in St. Louis that I could go pick.
Okay.
And then think about how they might navigate. They're going to start by clicking on the icon of the app. Then what are they going to see? Then how would they accomplish this? So think about 3 different user scenarios, what their needs might be, and how they would interact with the system to get to that. Their goal is to get to that final data piece, the one apple type that they were looking for.
Okay. And then for availability, I could probably link that with like locations then if they wanted to find some like a particular apple in St. Louis. So I can probably just like link those 2 together. Because I just thought that.
Availability would be like where it grows and when it's in season, and obviously that's going to be affected by availability. Maybe it should just be location, because location and season might be 2 parameters. I want to look at what's available in St. Louis. Oh, but it's August.
Mm-hmm.
You know, what's available now versus, okay, I'm in Washington State and it's August. So I think that it would make more sense to have location where it grows, where you can find it, and then season, and then you can just set those 2 parameters to be able to find what you're looking for.
Okay.
I think availability implies both location and season.
Yeah.
But you have 2 different distinct things that you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Because I was kind of looking up online what different people, like what websites would have about the information about apples. Then season was more of like when it would grow.
Right.
But there was also availability of if it's available year round or if they have it in the winter, more of, or some of it just like whenever the harvest time is. So that's what I meant by that. But I could probably, like I did with like the recipes with the mousses, kind of just like collab that since it's so similar. It can kind of.
Yeah, but do you see what I mean by like location? Like, okay, so you have your Golden Delicious and where are all the possible places it grows.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it might grow in Missouri as well as Washington. However, the season would be different in a particular location.
Yeah.
So the growing season would be tied to location. Maybe those are one category. Availability may be one category.
Yeah, then tie location to one of those.
Well, I'm just thinking location and season are tied together because they're interdependent on one another.
Yeah.
What other, can you guys think of another category that might be?
Did you consider sweetness versus tartness?
Oh, that's a good one.
Because that's really important to me. And
Yeah.
people who bake pies, you don't want an overly sweet
I was basing
apple.
tartness.
Oh, flavor.
Yeah.
There we go. Yeah, she does. Sweetness.
But that's not the same as flavor. So I can go to, I can put flavor, like I can put vanilla in my coffee and it has no sweetness or virtually none. Flavor is not the same as sweetness and tartness. They're 2 different things.
That's a good point. I mean, like, how would you describe it, apple's flavor?
Yeah, you can't just say sweet or tart. There's more to that. Like a Honeycrisp is completely different flavor than, like, say, your regular delicious apple.
At Eckert's, do they describe the flavor like tastes like honey and blah, blah, blah?
Yeah, well, I mean, we just say it's a very crisp apple with like a tint of honey or something.
Yeah,
like that.
yeah, there you go. So that would be the flavor, and then you could have the tartness and the sweetness scale.
Okay. Yeah.
And then maybe availability is location and season.
And I would say firmness matters as well. Some apples have a softer texture over others that are more crisp. And of course, this would be just as they're ripe and no other time. That's what you would base it upon.
That's a good category. I hate mealy apples.
Oh God, me too.
The
But
mealy,
they all become mealy after, you know, they're no longer, they're beyond their scope of.
that's good.
Right.
That gives you some more, that gives you some categories. But I mean, I think I think that availability has to be tied to location and season.
And what about size? There are apples that are ginormous and there are apples that are very tiny and they'll never get bigger.
And that would be a range. I mean, the way that you would describe it would be a range.
And I think, again, if someone's really an apple freak, they're going to want to know everything, even these subtle differences, because it'll matter to them.
Okay. Got a few more categories. That's good.
If I think of any more, I'll let you know.
Yeah, I think think about this in terms of each of these are kind of like ranges. A lot of them are. So the color could be kind of in from this color to this color. It could fall into this range.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just thinking about like in terms of a database, how would this work? You know, you have all of your apples on one axis, on your vertical axis. Then you have all of these different categories. Like everything comes down to a database. Like how are we going to describe this in the database? In season availability, each apple is going to have a lot of different data points, right? So if we are looking at particular states, let's say that the location, we're not doing cities or we're saying states. So they might have like Missouri, September 1 to September 15. And then, but Washington would be September 10th through September 20th or something like that. Like, how are you going to describe each of the morsels of data?
Yeah.
That's where it gets at. That's where your database, you know, you have to figure out how you're going to store the data and then how you're going to like be able to pull that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's kind of like I'm thinking very technically, but I'm thinking that that location season table would be kind of like a separate database because, like, can I take over your screen for a second? Like, if you were really building this. Okay, so imagine a database. So we have a unique ID. I'm going to say Apple ID, Apple type. So this is Apple 1, this is Apple 2, this is our Golden Delicious, and this is our Honeycrisp, okay. Now some of these categories are going to be easy to just put in right here. Like, for example, we could say maybe the hardness, it's a scale of 1 to 10, this gets an 8, this one gets a 2, okay? But in something like, this is a, so we'll call this Apple main, the Apple main table. And we have another table, and we'll call this the location table, the availability table, right? So here's a unique ID for location ID, Apple ID, and then we'll call this state season or start, avail, and avail. So this is just going to be sequential. I'm just kind of going crazy here, like showing you how this data might be organized. Apple ID number 1, which is referring back to Golden Delicious. So this is called a relative database, where we're linking this ID, this unique ID is linked to these records over here, because these are both referring, these are both referring to Apple 1. Okay, so our state Mo, start availability 9/1, end availability 9/15. Illinois, pretty much the same. Well, or maybe it's 9/2 to 9/16. But in Washington State, for that particular Apple, we start the 10th of September to the 20th of September. And so that would give you an example of the database structure. So I'm just trying to think about how this data may be organized and how this project gets you thinking about databases and database structure.
Yeah.
So if my app is communicating with this database and I'm pulling up this and I say Washington, well, it can look at this table and look for records of Apple 1 in Washington, and then I get my range. Do you see how they're connected together? So some of your categories are going to be pretty simple and straightforward if you had a tartness scale. And I'm just making this up. Maybe this is a 3 and this is a 5 on a scale of 1 to 10, however. But some of the data is a little bit more complex and it's going to have to be organized in a separate table because you have multiple records referring to the same Apple. And that's called a relative database.
Okay.
If you could put all of your data in one sheet like this, where you had a one-to-one correspondence with the Apple and all of these other categories, that would be called a flat file database, because it doesn't have any kind of connection to any other databases.
Okay.
But most of the databases, like you think about an e-commerce database, you might have a products table, but then those products may have attributes that are communicated in other tables. So for example, if I say, like at Nomex, for example, this particular kit has this particular imprinting options. It has imprinting option 7. Well, what's imprinting option 7? You go look in the imprinting options table, and 7 describes some special options.
Okay.
Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah, that does make sense.
So I just needed to kind of write this out to kind of think about how you would organize some of this data. And I think location and availability, if this availability is a perfectly fine category, just it's a little bit more complex than some of your other categories.
Yeah, so that would just be in a separate database.
Table.
Our table, yeah.
But the beautiful thing is you're not building the database, so you don't need to worry about it. I'm just sort of, but I'm
Yeah,
just
I was going to say I have one more category.
what's that?
Whether or not the apple is used for baking.
Right. Well, I think that's going to be taken care of in her uses category.
Oh, okay.
Because
I
in use,
missed that.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
There would be baked items.
I came in after that.
That's okay. I've been thinking about, and I've never done this before, but I would like to do it eventually with students, maybe next year. And I've been thinking about app making, and what really tripped me up, what I couldn't wrap my head around was like, how do we make an app that communicates with the database? I've made plenty of web applications that communicate with databases, from e-commerce sites to whatever weird web applications, even a WordPress site. It's communicating with a database. However, that database is sitting on the server, right? So when you have an app, every interesting app, like your Apple app, for example, that has a database. What if I have my phone and I'm offline somewhere and I still want to look up apples? How do you do that if you can't communicate with a database that's on a server somewhere? So That's what I was asking Scott the other day in your interview. So I'm like, how does that happen? And there's technology is SQLite, and it's a database that stays with the client. So all of this Apple data would be on a SQLite database that would be wrapped into the app itself. And the app would be coded in such a way that if there were updates to the Apple app, so maybe a new variety is discovered and you have to update your database, right? That data, whenever the phone that has the app on it connects to to Wi-Fi, or it connects to the internet somehow, it pulls that information down, but it stores it locally on the device. So I just am starting to wrap my head around this.
That makes sense.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, I have quite a few apps that I can use without internet.
Mm-hmm.
They must be doing exactly that.
Right. And what is interesting is that there are technologies now, when you wanted to make an app, you had to know like Objective-C to do an app for an iPhone, and you needed to know, a different language for making an app for an Android device. Right. But now there are applications like Adobe has a web service called PhoneGap that will take an HTML-based application. So it's all written in HTML, and it packages it and it turns it into an app. I'm like, that's great, but I want a database there. I mean, the most interesting things that we can do are all based on a database. Even if you make a game, you got to store some of that data and know how the person is done and what level they're on. And, it's database driven. Okay, enough. I'm going off the deep end. Darren, he's passing. Pamela, do you have anything to share?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I decided to do my project on swear words.
Oh, is there enough of a database?
Are you kidding? I think it's endless. And so far the categories I have are, so it will be based on several things. Like, let's say you need a unique swear, have a unique situation.
But
and most of it would be for entertainment.
One of the categories has to be like what other ones it's like. Because if I really want to say shit, but I need an alternative.
Yes. So like an antonym of yeah. So here's what I've got so far. So swear words based on fluids, on body parts, angry spouts, like knee jerk, like I know even me, like if I'm really upset suddenly, I have a string of swear words that I say as though they were one word. And then there are truck drivers' favorites, and then gender specific, which will not be PC, and then also truck drivers' favorites. I was a Teamster from 1985 to 1991, and when I became a Teamster, I had to swear that I would learn swearing 101. Some irony there. So as far as I got that, so I've got those categories, and I'm sure I'll come up with many more. Oh, and did I say mom swears? So mom swears will be like, "Gosh darn it," and "Dadgummit," and I put up on Facebook. I polled my friends and said, when your mom really wanted to swear but you were present, and she wanted to refrain, what would she say? And so I've collected some of those. They're pretty cute.
Oh, what about SpongeBob swear words? They're hilarious.
Well, SpongeBob is out of my frame of reference because he came after my daughter was too old to, adults tend to only know children's stuff when they have a child that's enjoying them.
Cartoon characters, like all the SpongeBob swear words are under the sea references. So like Holy Mother of Pearl, and
okay,
like what the halibut.
That's cute. Okay. Those are good. I'll look those up too. So SpongeBob.
Yeah, SpongeBob swears.
I'll probably refer to them as cartoon swears.
Yeah.
Yosemite Sam swore a lot.
Yeah. Well, Ned Flanders, I guess, on The Simpsons. That's what Darren said.
Ned Flanders. Yeah, he had some good ones.
I mean, maybe we have like signature swears to make the category more broad, and then the element would be tagged. Like if it's a swear associated with someone, Whether it's like, I mean, it could be funny, and there's going to be bias. There's going to be inherent bias in this because this is.
Oh, yes.
So like, for example, your mom, Ned Flanders, SpongeBob, like there are signature swears.
Yeah, yeah. And then maybe some British swears because they're just hilarious.
Swears another language.
Well,
I think
no, I won't go there because that's just so much. But I would go to, I'm going to make it an English-based database.
Okay, alternative swears.
Well,
So,
that
like,
I think that goes under mom swears and
Okay.
or what, because I think that's alternative. When you go alternative swears, that means it's not a swear. So that's what mom swears. I'm defining those as, like the kid-friendly swears. Maybe they'll be called.
Okay.
So, and then I was thinking like swears from 1850. That'd be fun.
Okay. The old school swears.
The ones that you may never even heard of.
Historical swears.
Yeah, something like that. And about references to visuals. And so I'm going to go show you what I've got, which isn't much. Let's see.
Okay. My brain is already thinking about your database.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's so much, it's just so much. So I started thinking about, the whole idea of washing your mouth out with soap. And it just doesn't visually work little. I mean, you can see I've got it just isn't going to work. But then I started thinking about, so what's the next step? Well, soap makes soap bubbles.
Right.
And
funny.
I went with this, and it goes small real well, and it's a quick, easy reference once you understand it.
Right.
So that's kind of where I'm headed with the icon.
Oh my
I feel
gosh.
like the icon will start the whole process. And so then, and then as far as filtering it, again, it goes to the possibility of, this, obviously this is going to be for a writer. It's going to be for entertainment when people are bored at a party or, they're just, want to entertain each other and laugh, because, and just be weird in general, swear and people don't even know you're swearing, that kind of thing. So I think is the more outrageous the category, the better, is my thought.
This is hilarious.
I think so too.
Let's build this, Pamela.
Yeah, I think so, because don't you think people would just have a delight with it? I mean,
oh my gosh, yes. It is so silly.
It is, and so I've been swearing a long time, and I right now I don't swear all that much. I don't swear all that much anymore. But when my daughter was little, I said, look, you can swear as much as you want at home, but you cannot swear at school, and you can't swear in front of your friends, and you certainly can't swear when you're at your friend's house. And ironically, she never swore. She didn't swear. And I don't know if it was because it just felt, I really have to ask her why. So now she's a comic and a writer, and she swears all the time. So it's kind of funny. It's, I think when she got into comedy, it became required. So, because they're all, that's, if they're not on TV, they're swearing every other word. So I think that might be it. So in any case, I've been swearing a long time. And when I was a Teamster, there was a guy on the dock who swore the F word as an adjective, as an adverb, as a noun, it was like he could use that word 12 times in a sentence and it had a different purpose for being in the sentence. It was almost poetic, truly.
So funny.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It really, there's a lot. So as a woman swearing a lot, I grew up with a dad and two brothers, and that might be another reason why I swear a lot. But when I swore, it was not ladylike. And so it's always been a bit of my rebellion to avoid being ladylike, because it's just, first of all, it's just exhausting. Okay, there's just no doubt. There's no way around it. Being ladylike is a fraudulent way to live, and it's exhausting. So that's the first thing. And people trying to shove me into that pocket just made me rebellious. So swearing has been a part of my life for a long time. but now I see, as I'm growing up and as I'm moving into different worlds, that there are times and places for it. So, but I love using it as punctuation.
Well, I can see a section like alternative forms. Like,
And what would that be?
well, like for example, crap is sort of the root swear word, but like I say I'm going to decrapify my house. Like that was just that I am crapified. I was
Okay.
crapifying. That
Okay,
was
so it's
done
it's
very
taking a
crappily.
word and adding to it and repurposing your swear word. That's what that is.
Yeah. Repurposing.
Yes.
It's other forms.
I like it. Repurposing is my word.
Creative use.
And then yeah, that's hilarious. And did you know, now that we're talking about crap, do you know why the word crap is associated with shit? Do you know why?
Because of Thomas Crapper invented the toilet, right?
Okay, yes, that's good.
Yes. No, I used to work at a wastewater treatment plant. So
Oh my God, you might have some really good ones.
yeah, all jokes about poop. I'm very, I'm like, this is right up my alley.
You're well versed. Well,
Yes.
so okay, that's really hilarious. Well, and maybe that's also a section is like the origin of some of the words. That would be really interesting.
That would be very interesting. I mean, there is
It's never ending.
the collection of swear words. I mean, the database, building the database is a project in and of itself.
Yeah, no, it'd be huge. It would take probably a good year to be as thorough as I would like to be. That's hilarious. I just think the whole thing is hilarious.
You guys, I'm just thinking about this. Like a lot of these ideas so far, and your Apple app and the swearing app, these could be very interesting apps to build for real. And
I agree.
There's actually this faculty student research grant where you can apply for funds from the university to help fund your project. And in something like this, the interesting part for the learning part for you and for me would be building the app. If Laura and I built an app together, or if any of us built an app together, and you could do that as like an independent study or whatever, and you could use the funds from the research to hire someone to help build the database, to do the research part.
Oh my God.
Let's
do it.
Yeah. Well, I think that there was yeah, I mean, you actually are going to have to put in some time, but think about the potential for this.
I do question though, the thing about this is that it's mindless, potentially troubling for children, and it's I don't know, other than making people laugh, which is a quality virtue. I don't know it would be hard for me to believe that anybody would want to fund it. It's like, now if we were,
the university would have a huge interest in funding it because we're making apps, we're building cutting edge, we're building some really cool things, and the university could broadcast that the student made this app, and how cool is that? So the university would have interest in funding it. And if you believe the viability of like who would download this, I paid $1 to download a stupid app that was like a monkey talking.
Oh, no, I mean, I think people would download the crap out of this, no pun intended.
Right.
Yeah, no, I think they would, because it's mindless entertainment. I mean, isn't that what most viral videos are? It's a short, mindless, fun, let's make me laugh. Making people laugh has value for sure.
Well, also too, maybe there's additional features where you could have like the virtual swear jar.
That's brilliant. That's brilliant. My daughter has a swear jar, which is hilarious because she's like, it's her own swear jar. That's the funny part. It's like usually people have a swear jar as punishment to someone in the family who swears too much.
Right.
But it's her own swear jar. She's taking her own money and putting it in a swear jar.
Right. So I think this is a hilarious idea.
I think so too.
I like it. So now think about your user scenarios, and like I said, it's easy for our brain to go into like practical uses of these, and we get into like downloading recipes or like the virtual swear jar and all of that. But we want to keep this focus, at least on this initial part, on how we navigate the collection. That's the purpose of this assignment.
Right.
And the work that you do is definitely going to be helpful in how you design the app would ultimately be designed. But the key is to just focus on the collection and the organization of that collection.
Okay. All right.
And if it helps, I don't know if it helps you to think about your collection in terms of a database. And maybe your brain doesn't work like that, but it helped me gain clarity, at least on Laura's connection, when I thought about how would this really be stored in a database?
Well, and so here's the reason I don't necessarily think in terms of a database is simply because I've not built one. So if I started to build some, then perhaps I would think in those terms, and it might help me organize things in a different way that I don't currently do. So if you have thoughts on how I would build a database or begin to do it, I would be grateful for that jump.
Keep thinking about your categories and the examples, your user scenarios. And then, that's not part of the assignment to build the database necessarily, but
Sure.
It's something you would definitely need to think about before you actually build the app.
Oh, for certain.
So,
Yeah.
I think this is a great idea. The icon, I'm seeing bubbles. I think you have the right idea in terms of scale and making it legible from a small. I'm just wondering if there's any way you can somehow integrate like the corner of a mouth or something that.
Yeah, probably
Yes.
up in this area right here. I could put a mouth.
Or just maybe will it imply, like Darren said, a hand covering a mouth, or like that would be something different. The bubbles make sense, but maybe if you could just imply a couple teeth, so that we understand that on the outskirts is a mouth, and we're just getting a really big close up.
Yeah, I think yeah, I never thought that this was the end of it because it isn't self-explanatory. Yeah, no, but I think it's what?
Bubbles coming out of a mouth definitely means
okay. I'm really seeing that right in this empty spot right here, and I can move this down just a hair. I'm gonna give it a shot. Yeah. Okay. I like that idea. So instead of literal words, bubbles, because somebody just can't stop swearing.
Yeah, I like it. Keep on moving. I'm glad you're having fun with this.
Yeah.
It's fun to see these projects come out of your own personal experiences.
Yeah, right. It's kind of sad. This is one of my claim to fame, swearing.
That is so funny. Like Eric Rosen, everything that kid makes is about chess.
Right. Well,
no,
everything I make is not about swearing, but it is about communicating in some way or form, usually.
Well, it's what makes your work unique because, like we talked about this earlier in this semester when we were talking about your project and the illustrations of the people. And, even if you're applying for a job as a usability expert or as a designer, you show that piece and it's like, oh, you did those illustrations? Yeah, I did portraits at Six Flags. And it allows you to bring more of yourself to a conversation. And like Laura, anything that you go on to a job interview and you have things related to Eckert's and Apples, and of course they would see in your resume that you worked there, but then that allows you an opportunity to be like, talk about some of the things that they did that they may not even pick up on. Like, okay, big deal, you worked at Eckert's. Yeah, but here's, I rebranded and I customer service and I did this and I did that. So it allows you to put some of yourself into your own work.
That's good.
And there in IKEA, and I'm sure with your military experience and everything, and your music and all of those things that are a part of you, it's great that it's coming out in your work. Even your potty mouth, Pamela.
It's all part of the way I communicate, baby.
Yeah, Darren's impressed with your Teamster.
Oh my God! When you're a singer, you have or a creative or whatever. You have all kinds of jobs that you use to support your creative habit. you know, and
Yeah.
and the thing is, you don't really want a job you want to commit to. You know,
Yeah.
you get into a job that pays the bills and is semi mindless and just helps you, you know, move on in your creative. So I literally have probably 40 jobs that I've had over the.
That is hilarious.
Yeah.
Well, I really only have a few claim to fames. Baskin Robbins. And I took my kids to Baskin Robbins the other day, and this was a couple years ago actually, and they were like, "So Mom, it's your old job?" And I'm like, "Well, it's not really my old job. It was like a lifetime ago."
They probably thought you were stupid for ever quitting it. What
I
in the
know.
world?
It was actually my birthday when we went in there, and I walk in there and I'm like, "Okay, it's my birthday, so can I have my free ice cream cone?" They're like, "Did you join the birthday club?" And I'm like, "No, I didn't join the stupid birthday club. I used to run this place. I used to work here, and it's my birthday. Do you want to see my driver's license?" They're like, "I'm sorry, you need to join the birthday club." And I'm like,
My God.
"Oh my gosh," my kids were like, "My mom used to work here, you little punks."
You know, it's so funny how this is my complaint about the way corporate America is run today. This is obviously off topic, but you know, the idea that they want obedient employees rather than critical thinking employees. Because if they had given her permission to give you an ice cream cone, she would have done it. But they have rules and she has to follow them.
Right.
Stupid.
Stupid. So stupid. Yeah, I know. And I ice cream profiled people. So it's somebody would come to the door, I'm like, "Oh, for sure, this is rum raisin. This lady has rum raisin written all over her." And she'd come
No
in.
way. How good were you at that?
Pretty good.
Now, is it possible she had come in for rum raisin before? Is it really? You had rum raisin?
Yeah, only old ladies that order rum raisin. So if it's
That's
an old
hilarious.
lady, it's like either pistachio or rum raisin or coffee sometimes, if they're like a little bit hipper. And you can tell, you know exactly what they're going to come in and order. And so we'd be like making bets as soon as they'd walk in. And then "I'll have a cone, a rum raisin cone." And we'd look at each other like,
Uh-huh.
"Yeah, I got it."
We got it. That's so funny. You know, my friend Brad, I would never have guessed this, but he liked vanilla. I was like, you have vanilla? And he goes,
Oh,
yeah. I'm like,
that's telling.
well, it's bizarre. I was so shocked. Vanilla. He goes, vanilla's great. I'm like, okay.
My husband's favorite is Breyer's peach, and you can only get it at certain places.
Oh.
Nobody else likes it. The kids all complain about it. They're like, "Dad just got peach." Stan.
But it's like, that's the funny thing is, how dare anyone complain about someone else's ice cream choice? It's their ice cream choice.
I know.
You don't have to eat it.
I know. And I went to the grocery store too, you little brats. So. All right, well, let's wrap this up. Okay, I will update the video and post everything online. I owe you guys some feedback. I know I'm super behind. I'm working on it today in terms of grading and whatnot. So
When is this project?
it's at the end of the semester. This is the last project. So I mean, if everybody's moving along, I mean, we can do critiques all through the finals week. But if everybody's done before that, I think I might have scheduled it due the week before finals ended. Before finals, so like week 15. I'm not 100% positive, but I'll go and look at all of that today because I need to spend some time in World Classroom.
Also, would you look at an email from me about the classes I've registered for?
Oh, sure, no problem.
Okay, because I don't know if they're good or not.
And I just mentioned to Darren earlier, on the schedule, INTM 2000 is not listed, but we are offering it in fall too. And it will be in person because I have a visiting faculty member coming from Vienna. And she's great.
What was the class?
INTM 2000, it's Strategic Writing for Interactive Media.
Oh, I'm taking that already. I wish I.
Oh, you're taking it right now with Christy.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we're doing it live, and then INTM 3100, which is HTML and CSS, which I think you need.
Yeah, I want it.
I told you it was cross-listed with COAP 2000, but the INTM 3100 sections were not showing up. They're there now.
Okay. What's that? Is that three course whole term or what? Or 3 credits?
3 credits whole term. The teacher you'll love, his name's Scott Graneman. He's great. And the reason why, there are 2 possible sections that you can sign up for. And if you look at my schedule, INTM, they're showing only like 3 seats available or 5 seats available. The reason why is because it's cross-listed with COAP. So they have a certain amount of seats, and they gave me a few seats in each one of their sections. So
Okay.
if it fills up, we can still get you in more than likely, but that's why it looks weird on the schedule, like there's only a few seats.
Okay, I'll take a look at it. And that's
Okay.
that's 3,100.
And I'll follow up on your email. I haven't even looked at my email yet today, so
Okay,
I will do
Good.
that.
awesome. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll talk to you later. Keep on keeping on with this, guys.
All right, thank you.
Toodaloo.